My name's Clifton Williams. I'm the women's basketball coach here at the University of Pikeville.
How long have you been the coach here?
I'm going into my fourth season here, so living here 3 years, going on to my fourth year living here in Pike County.
Fantastic. And as a kid, did you imagine that you would be the coach of a women's basketball team in the NAIA?
I probably didn't know what the NAIA was, had no idea what Pike County was, so the answer would be a resounding no.
What did you think you were going to do as a kid?
Well, like a lot of kids, I grew up playing sports. I started playing organized sports at the age of 9, and my dream was to play professional sports, play college and professional sports. So that was it. That was my focus. My dad was an athlete. My uncles were all athletes, and they were all like prominent athletes in our city. I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana, and so that was it. I had tunnel vision. Yeah.
In today, as we think about dreams and dream jobs, is there a dream job out there for you?
I truly believe that I am working in my dream job right now. I believe I was called to do this work. Once I opened my mind and opened my eyes to the possibilities of what I was capable of doing outside of what I thought I should be doing, I absolutely believe that I'm doing my dream job. I'm working in it right now.
And as we think about how life shapes and evolves over time, was there anything in life that happened that spurred you onto the path that you're on right now?
There was a lot that happened. I think it was a series of events over time that got me to this point. In my junior year of high school, I broke my leg, which brought an abrupt halt to athletics for 2 years for me. I was a 4-sport athlete in high school. As a freshman, as a varsity athlete, freshman in high school, I lettered in 4 sports. Basketball or athletics in general was like medicine to me. It was therapy. If I wasn't playing, I didn't feel comfortable, right? I wasn't okay. So, I learned all this looking back, mind you, right? It wasn't, I didn't understand this in the process. I learned about this looking backwards. So, once I broke my leg, that brought an abrupt shift to my approach to the day-to-day. I had to learn new coping skills beyond that, right? How to get through. And it was tough because I didn't have a lot of help. I began to struggle in school. I lost focus. I lost direction. So it took me a lot of time to get through. When it was time to go to college, I didn't know what to do, just like a lot of students that are coming in. So I took a step back and I went to work. My parents got married young, they had a family, so I decided, okay, if I didn't know what I wanted to do in school, it's time to go ahead and step out into the real world, and that's what I did. I went to work, got a job at a Fortune 500 company, had family, moved away from home, and began a life, and it was good. But there was this voice in the back of my head the whole time that it was small, I wasn't comfortable. I knew I was it felt like I was just going through the motions, right? There was something else I should be doing. There's something bigger. I had mentors over the years, people I reached out to and asked for advice. That helped guide me. It's the simplest way to put it. They helped me to focus on a relationship with a power greater than myself, which I choose to call God. And by doing that, and focusing on helping others as opposed to what I needed, I believe it brought me to where I am today.
So now, in your life, if you were to summarize your call or your life's meaning, could you do it in a sentence? And if so, what is it?
My calling is to achieve success through others, to help them develop spiritually, mentally, physically and emotionally.
And the call that you have today, the job that you're currently doing, do you feel like that aligns with this purpose that you have?
Absolutely. I never thought it would be young women. I always thought I would coach boys, right? Um, but it's the same. It's the same call, right? They come to me, they're not sure. Other than basketball, they're really not sure. They're not sure what they're getting into, even though we've recruited them for a year or more. So my job is to help guide them through this process, push them outside of their comfort zone every day, love them while I'm doing it, and do it with passion. And if I do those things and continue to cultivate that relationship from the recruiting process to the beginning of their time here, throughout their time, I wind up with lifelong relationships with these student athletes.
So, on your journey, who's been the most influential person or persons to help guide you, shape you today?
You know, I talked about faith in a previous question, so I'll start there. At the age of 12, I played in an era before there was AAU. And so by the age of 12, I had a coach. His name was Furman Sims. And he coached basketball and baseball. So this man coached me for 4 years, from age 11 to 15, in the winter and then all the way through the summer. So he was an interesting man. He was passionate as could be about the sport. And he was more passionate about his faith, and he lived it. And he would take our teams, and we would go to different churches around the city. We were most of us were raised Catholic in New Orleans, but he took us to all denominations, which helped open our minds to other cultures, other people. It just expand our education. And again, it's in looking back at that experience, you know, because while we're in it, you know, we're 12 years old, we're just going to church. But man, the foresight that he had and what he did for us at a young age, I'm still in touch with my teammates from those teams, and then we live all over the country now, and every one of them speaks the same way I'm speaking about him right now. Unbelievable mentor, leader, coach. Not only did he teach us the fundamentals of the game where we were able to compete at a national level and win championships at a national level, but we did it in a way that we served God.
So if someone was watching this and they said, hey, I want to become a head basketball coach for a women's team, what did you do to align yourself to get there?
You know, my goal, when I finally figured out my passion, right, which was coaching, and I started out as a volunteer. I started out volunteering at the elementary school where my dad played basketball in New Orleans. That's where it all started. So my goal was to become a high school head coach, and that's what drove me back to school, right? Because you had to have a bachelor's degree in order to be a high school head coach. So the path, I never imagined coaching in college, right? This wasn't the goal at all. So it was through the course of that process and then going back to school that college basketball became an option in terms of coaching. Now the head coach piece of it, again, it wasn't on the radar because I just figured, okay, high school head coach, I'm a little bit older than most people that get into this business, and so if I can be an assistant coach, that'd be great, right? You know, at this level, just because I got into it and understood how it worked, and I was a little bit late, so I was just trying to be realistic and not dreaming as big as I possibly could, right?
So you have a ton of conversations with young people.
Tons.
Whether you're recruiting them, just trying to show some interest, or you're speaking into them all the time as coaching.
And kids that I've coached in high school, kids that I coached long before I got here, I still have those relationships today. You know, And I'm going to speak to this for just a second because I think it's important. It's, understanding that this really is all about relationships at the end of the day. I've got one was an intern and one was a former player that worked in China in basketball this past summer as professionals, got paid to do it. So I limited myself because I didn't dream as big as I thought I could, right, early on. But these kids didn't. And the basketball has taken them around the world. They're still working in the game, obviously, but it's just an example of what can happen.
So when that text comes or that call comes or that face-to-face and they say, hey coach, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing now, what advice would you have for them?
It doesn't start with advice. It starts with questions, right? Because I honestly believe that that we have our answers. They're deep down inside. We've got them covered up with a bunch of stuff. Preconceived ideas about what we're supposed to be doing. Listening to others' ideas about what we should be doing. I think deep down inside, the answers are there. So my job as a mentor and a coach is to help to uncover those. And so it becomes the process of asking and listening. Advice comes down the road, right, based on my own experience. But it begins with a process of asking questions and helping them to uncover that truth for themselves.
Well, we are greatly thankful that you are our coach and taking care of our young women, and good luck on the season.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Rob.